Welcome to Trail Manners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for Trail Manners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails. Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the Trail Manners Podcast, episode number 16. Today, we're going to talk about pacing. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Trail Manners Podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Trail Manners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. Okay, welcome back to the Trail Manners Podcast. As always, sitting here with Mr. Joel Hatch. Joel, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Feeling a little out of sorts because we're not in either the bus or the basement right now.
Yeah, we're in a different room with some different acoustics.
Yeah, we're sitting at a table, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because normally we do either, in the bus, hanging out, fending off the trailhead riffraff, or I'm standing up in your office drinking a beer.
Which isn't a bad place to be with a beer.
It's not. So today where are we?
We're in Ogden, Utah, just right here at the base of some beautiful mountains. I can see probably Malin's if there was a window right there.
I can see it from my window.
Oh, yeah.
Looking pretty good.
There we go. So, yeah, we've got this. We're going to try something new today. We have two guests on the show. Not one, but two.
And we'll get to them in a sec.
Yeah, they're going to have to hold on for just a minute.
Because we need to do something that we've been doing for the last few weeks.
And our guests need to take care of something, too, I think, for a minute. But let's jump right into what's going on right now.
Right. So what happened this past weekend? What was the big thing here?
Here?
Yeah, here.
Well, there was Running Up for Air.
Yeah.
That was put on by Jared Campbell, a little fundraiser to clean the air up in beautiful Utah.
And I think they had some really good participation from the looks of it.
Yeah, they had some great runners down here, and a lot of people going out watching it and enjoying a lap or two or three or four or all the way to 11.
Yeah, I think when I saw an update this morning, Jared Campbell's done 10 or 11 laps, which is really amazing.
Yeah, Grandeur Peak is not an easy climb.
No joke. I did have a chance to check in with Luke Nelson this morning. He did get 6 laps in. And you're probably thinking, only 6 laps. Well, he was only supposed to do 6 laps under the direction of his coach. His coach is Scott Johnson from uphillathlete.com, and he has Luke just dialed in right now. Luke said he feels so much better this year than compared to last year.
And that's scary, thinking about that.
Yeah, right? I mean, he's way focused. All his races are at the end of the year. I think he's going to do well. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see what he does over in Europe,
and
representing the U.S. of A.
That's right. Then I also talked with Ty Draney. He did all right. He fell down, bruised his ribs, but he rallied.
He should be all right.
Yeah, he's 5 weeks out from Barkley.
Oh, that's right.
So he said
that's in 5 weeks?
It's 5 weeks, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know. So
I can't wait to hear some of those stories.
Yeah, he said he didn't want to put himself in too much of a hole right now.
Yeah.
So
well, broken ribs won't help.
Well, I don't think they're broken, but bruised.
Bruised? All right.
Yeah.
Bruised ribs will give him that.
You know how you are if you're from Wyoming. You don't break anything.
That's true. You just fix it with baling wire.
So I'm not quite sure there was much else going on this past weekend in our little world over here. So what we got coming up next weekend?
I think coming up, there's some races. You got Way Too Cool. It's coming up pretty close.
Yep, that's old school.
Yeah, you
right?
got that down in California with some poison ivy or oak or whatever they got there.
Yeah, that's pretty infamous there.
Yeah, and then Chuckanut, Chrissy Mel, she's got that killer race up in the Northwest.
A bunch of fast guys are doing that and gals doing that.
And what else do we got going on? Buffalo Run's a couple weeks out, like 3 weeks now.
That's right. And
for the Buffalo
what's
Run.
the other one the same weekend?
That one is Monument Valley.
That's right.
Yep, down south of southern Utah for Matt Gunn and Ultra Adventures.
So I think by the time our podcast airs, the registration for the Buffalo Run will be closed.
I think it closed already.
Is today the 28th?
Yeah.
I think the registration closes on March 1st.
Oh, does it? All right. I thought it was already closed.
Well, if you get into that situation where you really want to do the race, then you're going to have to bribe Jim Skaggs. And he's not opposed to that.
You know, there's an inside tidbit you'll get from our show that he can be persuaded.
Yeah, you'll have to go back to the episode where we interviewed him, and that information's in there.
That is, so you're going to have to listen. Sorry, we're not going to spill the beans right now.
Nope, not going to make it easy for you.
I think some other interesting information that came out is it the Magoyan? I don't know how to pronounce that word.
I think it's Mugion.
Okay, that's
or Mugion or something like that.
Anyway, the something monster, right? I don't know. They actually, it's a Hard Rock qualifier. They canceled it.
Yeah, that's too bad. I think that race director just, from what it sounded like, it was just too much.
Yeah, and that's, he was honest about why he stepped away, and maybe someone will pick it up because I've heard a lot of good things about the course. It looks pretty.
It
and
does.
Again, being a Hard Rock qualifier, there's not a whole lot of those, so losing one is going to cause some problems.
Especially at this stage of the game. If people are counting on that as their qualifier, well, I think all the other qualifiers, and even the one that we love, I'm looking at our other guests,
no names.
Might be
no names.
Getting some extra attention. We'll have to see.
We'll see. I think it will. But I want to get a little beef out real quick.
Okay.
I think we've done this in the past. So I'm kind of a data geek, and with our podcast, I have been excited to see where people are listening to us from different countries, all over the United States. But I'm gonna call out 3 states. There are 3 states in the U.S. that have not downloaded or listened to our show.
Those punks.
Arkansas, West Virginia, and Nebraska. Where are you?
They need to be stepping up.
Step it up. And if you know someone from there, come on. Let's get them on. Let's black out the map for the U.S. because we got some other countries, the U.K., Australia,
Sweden?
They're picking it up. Sweden's on there.
Yeah.
Brazil, they're picking it up. We need those 3 states. So can you help us out? Okay, beef over.
All right. So I think one thing that we need to kind of talk about, and I think we're allowed to talk about it at this point. A couple weeks ago, we learned that our good friends, John and Kristin Wojciechowski, are no longer associated with Striders.
Yeah, that came as a shock to a lot of people in our area. They have 2 locations. They've been around for over 10 years. Open running store in Layton first, where before I ran, I think I bought my first pair of running shoes in their first location.
Right.
In Layton, and then they've grown quite a bit and did a lot for the community. Put on a bunch of races. We're always involved with stuff, and it's a shock. And I think Kristin and John deserve a pat on the back for everything they've done for this area for sure. I know a lot of people have spoken out saying, "Hey, I got into running. They treated me like family." Whatever your story is, but we just want to go on and say, John and Kristin, we appreciate everything because you've helped us out in the early days. Joel and I put on some races that you were there for to help us out when we did our little trail series. You let us pick your brain and assist us a lot there. So, and then with our running group, you helped us there too. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. So what do we got up next here? So what's going on the website this week?
Well, there's going to be some excitement. And when I mean excitement, I mean some excitement. There is going to be some gear.
Yep, gear. I was messing with it today. So if you were paying attention to the Facebook page today, you saw 2 posts from the Trail Manners website, and they had alluded to T-shirts. And I was just kind of trying to teach myself the WooCommerce that runs our little store. And we're going to have some T-shirts and some hats up for sale. And if you haven't seen our trucker hats already, the snapback hats, they're nice.
Yeah, we've got the Boco gear hats, which are almost gone, thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can order some more. But we also have some from our Kickstarter campaign. A few styles will be up on the website. But the shirts are what I'm excited about.
Well, the PI shirt, you know my affinity for that one. That thing is so comfy.
It's super soft.
Yeah.
It's a great shirt. So those will be up there to help support us and show your love. Spread the word.
So look for that after you listen to the episode. Head on over to trailmanners.com and buy some gear, folks. That'd be nice.
That'd be awesome. So I think we're ready to kind of take a little break.
Yep.
We got to get our guests situated.
Got to get them primed.
And we've got a topic we want to discuss, and it's going to kind of roll into the topic we should do in the next show or two.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to correlate with that, but we'll be right back with 2 guests, not one, but 2. So we got 4 people sitting here, wires everywhere.
That's right.
We got wine, we've got gin and tonics, there's a coffee cup.
Fresh squeezed today.
And Joel today brought some Deschutes fresh squeezed IPA.
And we got some pizza today, too.
Lucky Slice pizza, baby.
It was good stuff.
That is so good. And we also have a dog here that's roaming around. Must have had some scrambled eggs for breakfast. So
if we start gagging and coughing, it's because of the dog.
Yeah, it is. It's not an excuse. It is the dog. So we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Ty Draney, and you're listening to the Trail Manners Podcast, bringing the dirt and the vert.
All right, welcome back to the Trail Manners Podcast. So today, we have 2 guests. I don't think we've ever had 2 guests before. So joining us today is Brienne Clark. How you doing, Brienne?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And we also have Harrison Fluman. Harry, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
So today we're at Brienne's sweet little house at the base of the foothills of the Wasatch. It is awfully nice. I'm loving your little house. It's pretty sweet.
Thank you.
And we are here today to talk about pacing, because it's that time of year, folks, where you're going to have to get those pacers lined up.
And for many people, they don't understand pacing early on.
No.
And that's what this show's about, is to help people understand what I need a pacer for, how to select a pacer, what is a pacer, and what, as a pacer, are my expectations.
Yeah, because it's an inexact science, I think.
This will be a tutorial.
Yeah. So where should we start?
I think we'll just throw this out there and let them kind of fight about it. But first of all,
As we do.
because Harrison and Brienne are veterans in this. They've been around a long time running. They've paced people. They've had pacers. They've run some tough races. They've run some really hard races. So we want to know, for a race, you need a pacer. How do you select your pacers? Because you know a lot of runners, right? How do you select the pacers you're going to use for a race?
Do you want me to go?
Sure, you can take this one.
Okay. The way I select a pacer would be completely different for the reasons Harrison would select a pacer. I have to actually like the person. Hands down, one, you have the potential to be with this person for a very long period of time. You actually have to genuinely like them, because odds are, even if you really love this person, you may not like them very much by the end of this.
Nope.
So so you like this person, right? So they've got to be a runner, okay?
Yes.
And so let's throw out a 100-mile race. You get 3 pacers. You have, say, mile 50 to mile 65. You have 65 to 80 and 80 to 100. So you have the 3 sections. How do you select who goes where?
Honestly, I go off of level of experience. The potential later in the race for you to fall apart, I need somebody who knows me, because I may not know myself by that point. So I need somebody who will keep me fueled, who will allow me to puke on them essentially, and will not let me get up. They will give up. They'll keep pushing me and motivating me, and they kick me out of aid stations.
So that's a trap, getting into an aid station.
Oh, absolutely.
So perfect example for me is Desolation Lake, the Wasatch 100.
Yeah, never sit down there.
If you sit down there, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
So as a runner, so you're running a race, Harrison, you're in a race, you're not feeling it. Maybe your feet are tired, maybe you're just a little sore, maybe you need some rest, but you need to get out of that aid station, and a pacer is pushing you to get out. How do you respond to something like that at mile 80?
Well, like Brian said, you should go into a race with a pacer that really knows you. So hopefully you've discussed beforehand, kind of what your strategy is, what you normally do at an aid station, what kind of food you like, how long you want to stay at the aid station, whether they're going to let you sit down or not. So typically you should already kind of have a plan before you hit that aid station as to what you should do.
What about a safe word, right? So maybe you've given them all your rules
Right.
before the race, but maybe you're backwards at mile 80. Is it good to have one of those in place that you can pull that out of your pocket and say, nope, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and they know that's he needs a minute, right? I mean, is that something that can be done?
I mean, I'm sure it could be. I have not had a safe word for a race. in particular. But
Okay.
I don't know. I just think that person you run with, and I'm pretty selective on pacers. I've only had a few that have actually paced me. They should know you really well. They should, when I'm pacing someone, I'm listening behind me. I can tell if they're struggling, if they're not. I can tell if they've even broke their stride into a walk, and I'll walk. So you should really know that person really well, and you shouldn't really have to, unless the wheels completely fall off.
Right.
You shouldn't really have to be kicking someone's ass getting out of a station, in my opinion.
So then what makes a good pacer? I mean, it seems like it's a combination of things. So Brian has paced me, and she paced me at the Wasatch 100. Joel's paced me. Harrison's not paced me, and because he's too fast for me. And so thinking about a good pacer, okay, you got to be part psychologist, right, as a pacer. You need to know how to figure things out. A doctor, someone that is liked. It's almost like a compass, right, a map. Someone that can entertain you. So what makes a good pacer? Like, what do you look for? Like, not just experience, but what characteristics should a pacer have?
I like somebody who, it all goes back to how you know me. So you can actually push me further than my breaking point. I'll go face down, ass up before anybody ever actually realizes that there's something wrong. So, for instance, Debbie Farka, she was probably one of my first pacers that had to deal with me in a state of where I don't make sense. Slurred words, throwing up, dizzy, not making sense. She knew there was something wrong. But, there are points in a race when you really don't have the resources to fix that. So she was able to pull me to a point where she could take care of me. She ran ahead of me. It was salt. She's ran with me enough. She just kind of knew this is salt. But she also didn't coddle me. She didn't wrap me up in blankets, stick me next to a fire, say, oh, she's not making sense and doesn't feel really good. It's that gentle pushing and pulling motion, but not coddling. Once you get to the point where you're coddling, then you're not really pacing anymore.
No, you'll never get them out of the aid station once that happens. You got to be pretty persistent with their forward motion.
So a lot of the stuff I'm hearing, what would make a good pacer is like a college wingman, right?
Could be. Yeah.
I never had that college experience before, so
there was some pushing and pulling going on.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't really know.
Okay,
that was kind of like my college experience.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You went to Penn State.
That's true. We don't want to go there.
So let's flip the switch a little bit. So now you're the pacer. Okay. How do you prepare as a pacer? It's a whole different ball game. And I'll tell you what, from my side, I have been more nervous and more anxious as a pacer than I have been as the 100-mile runner. So what's your mindset as a pacer?
Oh, absolutely. Harrison should take this one.
Yeah, I would agree with you. When I pace someone, I'm heads and shoulders way more nervous and way more prepared to pace someone than I'm to actually run a race.
And so why is that?
I just think that that person that's picked you, they've entrusted you to kind of take care of them or push them. And the worst thing you can do as a pacer is, not be prepared or take a wrong turn or, really, or run them into the ground or just make an error and cost your runner, their performance. So
that happens, I think, a lot with new pacers. And I've been guilty of that.
Being really excited to pace and then run them into the ground.
Well, yeah, kind of. I did both. Ran them into the ground and got lost. Corey Johnson, Wasatch 100, the first time I think I've ever paced. Now, this was probably like 2007 or so. And I picked him up at Lambs back when you could drive up there.
Yeah.
Now you can't. And it's a big old party, and Corey gets in there. He's feeling pretty good, and he's eating some like grilled cheese as we're leaving the aid station. I'm like, all right, it's time to run. Yep. I'm excited. And we get like 30 yards up that road, and he's like, dude, I'm going to throw up. I'm like, all right, let's walk. So we walk really fast up that road. And it's only like a mile up that road. And the turnoff is right by the bathrooms. I've never done that before. We probably went a good mile beyond those bathrooms before Corey goes, I think we went too far. And this is somebody that's probably done it like 5 times, by that point. Yeah, so that was my first pacing experience. Was I got him lost and I tried to run him into the ground.
Have you been asked to pace since?
Oh, yeah. But
See, there you go.
here's the deal, though.
You can do no wrong.
No, I'm cursed as a pacer. Every time I've paced, something has gone wrong. And I'm not saying that it's not going to go wrong. You're always going to have that issue, that problem you got to deal with. But it seems like, I got Corey lost. I paced Corey and Tom at the Bear, tore my meniscus and had to run an extra 25 miles on that. Let's see. I paced a girl at Wasatch one year, and she was having intestinal bleeding. I'm going to leave it at that.
luck.
That was.
That's
That was rather difficult to deal with. We got her up to Upper Big Water, and she had to drop there. Let's see. I paced Eric at Wasatch a couple years ago, and his stomach went so south.
But that's to be expected.
It is to be expected, I think that's just part of the course, and you just got to learn how to deal with that when that happens as a pacer.
I think the stomach going south, that's just too common. So you can't blame. I mean, my stomach goes south with a gassy dog.
Yeah, but yours was just wrecked. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
when you
was-
got
it
to
was
mile
wrecked.
75, and I wasn't
ready
sure
to
you
pull
were
the
able
plug.
to go on at that point. And
Yeah.
then let's see here. Last year, I was supposed to pace Misty at the Bear, and she didn't even get out of mile 60.
Yeah, that's where I dropped her off.
So I think I'm kind of cursed as a
I'd
pacer.
I'd still pick you.
I actually puked on Harrison.
right?
Yeah, and
Everywhere.
Joel hit on something about the stomach going, and I think picking a pacer that has experience, like Brian said, really helps. So if you, like me, my stomach always goes during 100-mile races.
Well,
so
yeah.
I kind of know what I would normally do to help that along. So as a pacer, if you have that experience, you can hopefully help your runner, figure out some things that might work.
And
'cause it
honestly, I've
always
never
happens.
had anybody do it better than him.
Well,
He just flips you over to straight liquids.
And I think that's why we brought you two on the show today, because Harrison is known as being a very meticulous pacer.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted to bring him here, pick his brain. What makes a good pacer? If you're thinking about pacing, maybe you can pick up some tips on this show.
So what are the pros and cons of being a pacer? What are the pros and what are the cons? The good, the bad.
I don't know about cons, but pros. It could be a race that, like Wasatch. I've only attempted it once, dropped. I never want to do it again. That type of thing. But I can pace at Wasatch, and still get 25 miles on the course and not pay a dime, and help your friend out. So that's a pro. You get to see the course. Doesn't cost anything. You don't invest 24 to 36 hours. So that's a big pro. And you get to check out courses you might not experience, and just generally hopefully have a good time.
Right. It's kind of a way of giving back, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I think my pro for being a pacer is I've had the fortune of pacing a couple people at the Bear. 1 year, the last 40 miles, someone at their first 100, and then the following year, someone's first 100, the last 25 or so. And I think for me is watching them finish, right? And I've paced people in like a middle section, but have gone to the finish to watch them come across, and the high you get watching somebody cross a finish line of a 100-miler as being a small part of it and knowing what they've gone through in certain areas, that's a huge, inspiring, uplifting experience.
Yeah, it is.
And I think, I'm looking around the table right now and everybody's smiling. So I think everybody knows what I'm talking about here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I've had the opportunity. Huge pro, like everybody said. It's like the cruise ship version of a race. So you do get to not only see a course that you wouldn't otherwise see, but you get to glean some knowledge. I had paced several times before I ever did 100, and I think Eric was the first person to tell me, well, you've paced now, you're going to end up doing one. He was so right. Because once you've paced, you kind of get to see how people fall apart and be okay with it. It's like this acceptance thing, like, oh, yeah, that looks horrible. And it is a different feel once you're in that space. And I've paced people who have come in just before cutoff, and it is the coolest experience. And then I've paced Harrison at Buffalo Run last year when he came in second. And probably the funnest part of that pacing is when you came in, let's see, what was it, miles 60 something? I wasn't supposed to pace yet. And he said, grab your shoes, we're going. And just to be able to run, he didn't feel good. And just to run him, to catch him back up to where he thought he was doing a lot better. And just to see him pull through those low spots. And then he's vice versa. He's pulled me through some serious low spots.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have a pacer, that probably wouldn't have happened.
No, and I think, just you guys touched on it, just to see people go through those really super low spots, you at an unnamed fall 100-miler, pulling you through that. I've never seen anyone actually hit that sort of low. And just to witness that, it's just a lot of fun.
Right.
And then with Debbie in that same unnamed race, she had a tough race.
Well, she got hurt.
She got hurt. And just to watch someone actually just battle through that,
right.
That's just awesome to see.
Yeah, and I mean, it was one of those things that they get to the point where they're barely even moving, and you say, listen, you're now at a point where you either it's go time or you don't finish, or
you just keep going.
Push through it,
right.
and just to see them push through that point.
Well, I mean, anybody out there that's experienced a 100-miler or going to experience a 100-mile race, you put a lot of time, you put a lot of effort, you put a lot of things on the back burner. Your family, your job, your friends sometimes, to prepare for something like this. So to see it happen, that's huge.
So we talked about all the pros. So what are some of the cons? Because they are there. Let's not make it all rosy.
Yeah, a con I can see is if you pick a wrong pacer.
Right. So from the runner's perspective, it can be a con from the runner's perspective, definitely.
Right. The only other con I can see, because I guess there's a debate between whether you should have pacers or shouldn't, whether it helps or doesn't. Is it quote cheating or whatever? I don't think it's cheating if if a race allows it.
Right.
The only con I can see is if not really a con, but if you want to do it solo and you want to see what you can do without anyone helping you, basically.
Well, you're not going to select pacers at that point. So I mean. I think the biggest thing is if you choose the wrong person, it can really ruin that experience for you.
Well, yeah, and as a pacer, if you're a runner, if you're considered like their lucky pacer, Jim Skaggs knows exactly what I'm talking about. He has a race that he likes to run every year.
He's going to do that.
Jim, don't even ask again.
Yo, I'm not even joking. This was a solid no for years.
2 months from now. No, 2 months. It's 2 months from now.
Yeah, it's in April.
He is keyed up for that.
Oh, yeah. And now it's become a joke. He'll just ask me knowing damn well that
just
it's a no.
Just to see what your experience
Yeah, Eric and I both
expression
paced him.
is. Yeah.
And some people love that race. If you agree to pace somebody, you must love that race.
That's
Otherwise,
right.
it is going to come out of every fiber of your being that you detest being on that course.
Right. And that's the last thing your runner needs.
No, yeah, you don't want to be that pacer out there being a negative nanny. And, last time I paced was with Eric at the Wasatch 2 years ago, and we were both just not happy with the last 25. And we both started griping about it. And I'm like, well, I can't gripe about it because I'm here to help him. But he and I are such good friends. We run a lot. You both know what you're thinking at that point. So you got to find that person that enjoys that course or is willing to shut up about how much they hate it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think one of my cons, and I don't know if they're cons. I don't know if that's the best way. One of the things that's difficult is when you pick your runner up, right? So they give you an idea. Hey, I'm going to be here, and hopefully between these, like 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. So you got a 3-hour window, right?
Right, and your runner comes in at like 6 in the morning.
Yeah,
and you're
so you've
just
been
like,
there. So the waiting is tough.
It is tough.
I've been to a race before where I thought my runner dropped. Like I heard, hey,
that's
you're
right.
We
were at the Bear. I was going to pace for a 10-mile section. You were supposed to do the last
40.
Yeah, or 25, and it turned out to be 40. We heard that the runner had dropped.
And so we were grubbing. Someone brought out ribs, pizza, and we're like,
fried chicken.
Yeah, we're like,
Larry Adams' wife brought ribs, and Eric and I were destroying the ribs. And then next thing you know, here comes the runner's wife, and we're like,
yeah, did you hear? He dropped. No, he'll be here in like 10 minutes.
And then I had to hurry up and get ready to pace. And here I am, that full belly, I'm just like, oh man. But my section went okay. I mean, we walked for 10 miles, and it turned out okay.
He finished. He finished the race. But yeah, it's just that waiting part, because as anxious and nervous as you are, then you times it by 10, because every runner that comes in, you're like, okay, I got to get ready. That's my, nope, that's not it.
In some races, if you're lucky, the pacer before you, if you have a pacer before you, can send you texts.
Yeah.
And that can be even worse, because last time I paced you, Debbie Farka was sending me texts.
Oh, yeah, those texts probably didn't read too well.
Right. And she was like, oh, Eric's stomach has gone south. And I'm sitting at the aid station going, oh, man, is he going to be able to keep going? Yeah, that can be nerve-wracking, too.
And I did not want to.
No, I mean, basically, Mark Coleman said, you have to leave my aid station. And he did, and he finished.
I did. I left it, and I don't know, not a lot of good things to say when I left, but they got me to the finish.
That's right.
So those are some of the, maybe not so perky things, but you do. It's like Brian mentioned earlier, vomit on somebody. They get to see you.
It happens.
People see you at your worst raw moment. Brian paced me, Wasatch, and like a brainiac I am, I tried a new supplement, right? I'm like, I tried it for one training run for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I'm like, oh, this thing is spot on.
Magic.
I am taking it. And I read the label. Take 1 to 2 tablets hourly as needed. I'm like, well, let's see. This race is 30 hours. I'm gonna need 60 of these tablets. So I'm at mile 20, and between mile 20 and when Brian picked me up, I hit the bushes like 10 times.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. She said, what are you taking? And I told her, and she goes, Eric, that's what hospitals use to make people poop. And she goes, how many have you taken? I'm like 25.
We were probably a solid 8 miles into my pacing section. Oh, and that touches on another thing. The other kind of difficult thing, and I could be guilty of this. I hope I'm not anymore. The chatty Cathy, or the too excited cheerleader version that you're just way too excited to pace.
Oh yeah.
For the first time ever, Eric actually told me to shut up. Oh. Scott's Pass.
I don't remember this, just for the
No,
record.
I bring this up all the time.
Is that before or after you called me obese?
I didn't. We have this history where Eric thinks I called him obese. Right after that was after the oils discussion. In the Grand Canyon. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
For the record, I never have called Eric obese.
To my face.
I have never called Eric obese. However, I also have had 2 chatty Cathys and cheerleaders, Debbie Farka and Jim Skaggs. They know this exactly because I basically rained on their parade. Debbie filmed me and put it to a Charlie Chaplin music when I wanted to I actually think I threatened in the video to stab her with my pole.
Nice.
She will totally back me up on this. She was so excited to pace me at Chimera that she was videoing me, and she was cheery, and she was heading up the hill.
Was that her first pacing experience?
Absolutely. And Eric was my first pacing experience. So before he was crapping his pants off the side of the trail, I was so excited.
Well, there we have it.
So that's what I'm saying. That's a pitfall. And then Jim,
right.
I was like a solid 6 hours late coming in at the race that should not be named.
Right.
And he came running up the road.
Oh,
I think I may have threatened to stab him as well.
I think Jim had been drinking quite a bit during
too.
that trip.
I think
and
all
he
of
was
us were
ready to go.
He was, yeah. And that's, so for the record, for real, the chatty Cathys, the cheerleader type, those are the ones that usually are the closest to like a roundhouse kick,
right,
an uppercut.
But
if I could have mustered one on both times,
yeah.
That it would have happened.
Yeah.
So as your first pacing experience, I think that's what you need to take away from this is you have to have a good idea what your runner state is. So your runner comes into the aid station. You need to do that quick assessment. How are they doing? What do they need? How am I going to, as the pacer, react to them going out of this aid station? You might be really pumped. You might be excited, but you're going to have to tone it down a little bit. I think that's safe to say.
No, it is. And, the other thing that crosses your mind is how many gummy bears can I stuff in my pocket?
As a runner or as a pacer?
As a pacer.
As a pacer,
you eat like a king as a pacer.
You do.
So much better than the runner.
It's like a buffet at everything. It's like, give me 2 of those pancakes. I'm going to go sunny side on those eggs.
Oh, yeah.
That
3
bacon.
grilled cheese. It's
great. When I paced you last time, Eric, at Wasatch, we came in the Aunt Knowles, and I think Eric Storheim was manning that one. And he had like venison, like freaking sausage that he made.
I ate
and
like a king there too.
That was when your stomach turned around, but I did too. And then sometimes I feel bad as a pacer, eating really good food like that, because I know getting it out
really
there.
Felt bad about that.
No, but getting it out to Aunt
Good job
Knowles
being
is not
empathetic.
easy, right?
Right.
No, it's not. That's a hump down that hill. That's a straight down. We're gonna after we get to the top.
Right.
Yeah, that's a bomb.
But true. I mean, you got to get your food for your runner, and then you got, if you're lucky, you get some food in you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point, it's got to be about the pacer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right. So there you. I mean, that's kind of the pacer side of it, right?
Okay. So I've got a question for you. So you're a runner, and you've got some pacers. What do you get your pacer as a gift? Because this is something that I think is, back in the day. Now, when I say back in the day, it's really not back in the day.
Last week.
Yeah, like 2005, 6, 7, 8. I never got a gift as pacing. Now it's almost like expected. I don't expect it, but
You got your runner lost.
well, that was my gift to him, right?
Bonus miles.
You got a compass
Yeah,
and a
bonus
map.
miles. That was, but you know what? He paid me back. We got up on Red Levers Ridge, and he tried to lay down, take a nap at midnight. And I'm like, no, you're not allowed to do this because it's cold. And Corey is just out of his mind at that point. And he's like, I'm going to lay down right here and take a nap.
Found some wild onions and kept
Yeah.
going.
Oh
probably.
yeah, he did.
Pulled out the cheese out of his pack.
It's been there for several months.
Right. Mm-hmm. So back to the question: should you get something for your pacer, like a gift, like a thank you gift?
I do. I really do. And I kind of take it. I get this. Debbie's my thoughtful friend.
Well, yeah.
So I bounce these off of her because she really. I mean, she got me copper mugs.
That's way too fancy.
Oh
very
God,
fancy.
she's at
Way
Pace
too
Debbie.
fancy.
She got me copper mugs. I did.
Debbie, I'm gonna whatever race you run, I want to pace you next.
Oh yeah.
Well, she's doing that race
She
that
can't
shall
be
not be named.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can't be horrible enough to not make up for her pacer gift. I don't think it's necessary, but I do. I don't expect it though as a pacer.
I think like T-shirt. That's kind of like you always give them a T-shirt, right?
Yeah, I
from the
don't think
race.
I've ever. Yeah, I think I've done the buy 'em a T-shirt thing, but typically I've just if you pay somebody, they return the favor.
Yeah, I
the-
think
the
that's
next race.
that should be like an unwritten rule.
Yeah.
You always return that favor.
Yeah, I think you're kind of in that loop where when you're called upon, you just step up.
Yeah.
Right, but I think the whole gift thing, I think it depends on where you're at. Because I've had pacers before where I've given them like shoes and wardrobes because I could. Right.
Right.
So they had the same kit. A
Oh,
six
yeah.
pack of beer, I think, is
I think that's fair.
That's-
if you drank beer.
yeah, or whatever. But I
Right.
think that's where you know your pacer, right? And so, what do they like? What can you do for them? But I think it's something that I don't know. I think there's it'd be nice to hear what people think about this. I think because I think
Yeah,
the
I
shirt
do.
one, kind of from the race, a commemorative thing. But I've talked to people says, don't do that because I didn't run it. I wouldn't wear it because I'd feel
True.
uncomfortable.
I've got some of those sitting at the house right now.
Yeah, I do too. I got one from a 5K I paced. I don't wear it.
Is that the
Redropped.
run event that you did in Texas?
Maybe.
That's where Rob Carr and Stephanie Howe were there, and they smoked everybody.
Yeah, that was funny. That was awesome.
Exactly. So,
I don't expect one.
Okay.
I don't expect a pacer gift. I think it's nice. I like to give them. I mean, you give up a day and a half of your time. I feel like I should do something
and
for
it is
that.
like a true day and a half.
Oh yeah.
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 We're talking sleep.
Especially if you go out of town.
Well, now they got races on Fridays more than you do. Mainly it was Saturday, Sunday races,
Right.
so that was easier. But now it's like Fridays, where I've taken off at like noon on a Friday and not
Taken
pace
off.
till like Saturday morning.
Yep.
Because you want to be there, get ready, or you
And
have
wait.
to, or
you get there and get ready, and you wait.
And here's the thing we haven't touched on. This is to me one of the worst things. Okay, is the coordination between pacers and vehicles.
oh yeah, that's
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to drive here. I'm going to drop my car off. I'm going to pace. How do I get back to my car? Can I take your car? Do I loop it around to the third leg? Are you going to go to the finish? Because that's like 73 miles away.
Yep.
But I have to go over this pass, and I think there's a cattle drive going on. I mean, it sucks.
it does.
Especially if your runner drops.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's
Oh,
happened
yeah.
to some of my pacers, so I'm going to apologize again for that. But what's nice about that is when you have pacers that do that thinking without you as a runner. Because
Right.
the last thing you want to do to your runner is make them worry or think or plan more. So I'm going to throw this out. If you're pacing, figure your own stuff out like that. It's
does
just,
help.
it's a relief,
Yeah.
right?
It really does.
And
help.
it is it could be complicated depending on your race. Some races, the Bear 100, it's in our backyard, super pacer friendly.
It is, and spectator friendly.
Absolutely.
Crew friendly as well. We'll talk about that next week with the crew too.
Yeah, but when you get to a race, say because I've been out there like a Western States where it's point to point,
Right.
but there's some driving going on.
Right.
So that's one of the hoodoos that are hard to figure out.
So I got another question for you. So you're pacing somebody, or you're running as a participant of a race, and somebody else's pacer is close to you, right? And they're annoying the hell out of you.
Oh, yes.
Now this happens.
I wish we had a video camera to
has
video
happened.
these faces.
So,
right now.
either as a pacer or as a runner, what do you do?
I've experienced that as a pacer with Debbie last year, that unnamed race. We had a pacer and runner really talkative behind us. I'm talking probably a quarter mile back, and you could just hear him just talking about random stuff. Didn't even make any sense, just like current events, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I basically had to get Debbie to kind of decide, either we're running a little bit faster or we're letting these clowns pass, because
Right.
I can't do it.
Right.
And it was it was starting to annoy her, starting to annoy me a lot.
I say it was messing with Debbie's chi.
Yeah.
Right.
And this race that we were running is, there's like 30, 40 people in the entire race, and for 100-mile point to point, and you get right in front of the person that just can't stop talking.
The Encyclopedia Britannica.
There was absolutely no need to be that close to somebody. You could go for 30-something miles in this race and not see a soul, and we, for some reason, locked in on the two most annoying human beings on the face
And there's
of the planet.
there's a lot of large animals out there, and
Right.
they did not get mauled by a bear, eaten by a wolf.
That's too bad, right? You were
unfortunate.
hoping for that.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Well, you probably didn't have to worry about them being around, the bears and wolves being around, because of the noise.
That's true.
It's
That's
like
true. It's like
It was
a bell.
a
bear bell.
strategy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a strategy. We're going to stick by with these people because they're going to scare all
Talk
the
loud
wildlife
on
out of
every
here.
corner.
So the last time I did the bear between Tony Grove and Franklin, which is 50 to 60, that 10-mile section there, I was running it. I was running without a pacer, and that's another topic we can maybe talk about. There was a gal that I had caught up with that runs in our area, and she had a pacer. And I don't think this guy's ever paced before, and he was really excited, and he had his little watch on, and it was beeping every 20 minutes to tell her, his runner, to eat or drink. And he was chatty Cathy, and his watch was going off, and he was telling her, basically being a boss. Now, if you're going to be a pacer, don't be a boss. I don't think it does you any favors or your runner any favor. And basically, I had to make that decision. I ran pretty fast that next day on my aid station. There was no way I was going to run 10 miles listening to that watch go off every 20 minutes.
Well,
and this it's a road runner. And that's what it was.
I was just going to say.
And it's,
It's a whole different
yeah,
mindset.
it is.
a
And
different
I don't,
mindset.
I'm not trying to bash them. Okay, maybe I am. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
No, I really, 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 I say that all the time. Not only does your runner need to know you, I actually think the runner at least has to have a few ultras under their belt.
Absolutely.
And your ultras that are more, okay, there are some ultras that cater to the road runner.
Yep.
So I don't think that is like real credibility. They actually have had an ultra that
Old school ultra.
yeah,
Right, old
that's
school.
a good word. Old school ultra.
Right.
Because I've seen a few runners that are old school and have been almost pressured into having somebody pace them.
Yeah.
Please let me pace you. Please
Nope.
let me pace you. And they think, oh, okay, this can't be that bad. No.
don't. Don't do it.
It's just with the watches and we don't keep a pace.
Yeah, there's no consistent. That was the thing, is he was trying to keep her on this consistent pace for that 10-mile section. And granted, the first climb out of Tony's Grove is, if you're not feeling good, you're going to walk it. If you're feeling pretty good, you can run that whole section because it's almost downhill all the way over to Franklin. It's good stuff. But there's no need to try to maintain a 10-minute pace, if you're a mid-packer over there, because you're going to go up, you're going to go down. You're going to go down, 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 and then you got to cross that damn river. And then you got to try to find your way through all the splinter trails. So if you're a road runner out there listening, because I know some of you guys listen.
And don't be mad. We're just saying.
Hey, we're just speaking the truth. And maybe it's time for you to go away from that nonsense. Dive into the trail world full time.
And the word pacer kind of implies that you're setting a pace.
Well, that's
And that you may or may not be doing that. It just depends on what your runner needs. So for me, I'd need to have somebody. I actually do want someone to set a pace.
Right.
Some people don't want that. Some people just want the company. But what no one wants is someone to actually, have a watch beeping or,
No.
you missed your split by 35 seconds. You need
Right.
to pick it up or, it's just
Or
crazy.
you need to eat a gel. It's been 20 minutes since you had your last gel.
no one is that
shut
exact.
up. Don't be that person.
Well, and I'll tell you, when I was coming, thinking about we were doing this show, and I thought, okay, let's come up with some good questions. I'm going to kind of search. I don't want to be redundant on what's already been said. If you type anything in that has to do with pacing, it's road running, right?
Right.
So I think as someone that's novice or new and you kind of want to get a head start and you type in, okay, what do I do to pace? I mean, pacing a road race is completely different. And I think that's where it's the same word. It's the same concept, but it gets lost in the translation of it. Because I've had people come up to me, what was your pace on that 100-mile race? I'm like, my pace was between 7 and 23 minutes. And they're looking at me like, what? And I'm like,
You're not holding like a 3-hour and 15-minute
No.
banner above your head while you're running. Yeah. That's not what this is.
And that's where it's it's a different game because you
It
get
is.
some of these faster, way too cool's a fast, ultra.
But that's a
the
50K, right?
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the
you're not
Rocky
gonna have
Raccoon.
You're not allowed to have a pacer for a 50K.
But I'm just saying at those races where it's a little bit quicker, people will look at their pace.
Well, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So they'll say,
That's a different beast.
I got to keep a 7:30 pace for
right.
this.
That's
for this
totally
50K.
runnable course.
Correct.
Right?
Well, and I don't know if you keep a pace because with him for Buffalo, very runnable, but there wasn't necessarily a pace. It was we need to get to X point within 2 miles. Let's go. I mean,
Right.
it's one of those things. And actually, both of you, because sorry, Joel, I've never paced you.
That's okay.
But I've given instructions like make sure I'm eating and drinking.
Right.
I don't set my watch to beep every 20 minutes, but I'm looking down. I'm like, what have you drank? What have you eaten?
Right.
And actually, both of them fake ate and fake drank.
I was just going to bring
I
that
do
up.
that.
I do that
Just
a
to
lot.
get her off her back. You know?
Right.
If the pacer's ahead of you, here's a little tidbit. If the pacer's ahead of you and you got a handheld, for example, and it's 20 ounces,
Dump
okay?
it out.
Dump
Just
it out.
Squirt it to the side every once. Like take a hit. Yep, right
You
there.
got some
little bit
jelly
gone.
jelly beans in your hand. I swear to God, I ate them.
Yep. I
But you
don't-
just dropped them.
How
You know what I
helpful
mean?
was that?
Well, I got you off my
It
back a little
got
bit.
you-
Yeah.
So let me ask you this personal question on pacing. The pacer, because this happens, I've had people ask me this when they say, hey, I'm pacing so-and-so. And because people want to hear and understand this. The pacer is in front of you. The pacer is behind you.
Ooh.
Huh? Right? Look at these eyes. You guys. Go ahead, Harrison.
My in front. Mine will. I literally want someone to drag me, and I've only had 3 people pace me, and it comes to a point in a race, and this is where I think the pacer helps me tremendously. And if anyone says that pacer doesn't help you, you probably picked the wrong pacer. I want them to drag me, because I know I've had pacers. John Stewart, for example, at the Bear, the first time I ever ran the Bear, and he paced me kind of by happenstance because a friend of ours dropped. I know I would not have ran that. I probably would have ran it about an hour and a half slower. So I need someone to be in front and drag me.
Pushing
Right.
you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I need to have somebody in front of me. I don't do well being pushed. I do better being pulled. But pacing you the last 5 miles, I had to throw you in front of me because I guess that's another topic is what happens when something goes wrong with the pacer.
Ooh, I've been
Dropping
dropped.
the pacer.
I got dropped once.
No, I don't think I have, but
Yeah, I got dropped by Tom and Corey at the Bear one time. That was when I tore my meniscus. We had that last little grunt, and you have 7 miles of downhill. My knee was done.
yeah.
So, and then at that point, you just try to limp it in.
Yeah, you hobble it in. I mean, I've dropped pacers. I've never been dropped, but I think if you drop your pacer, that could be like a huge boost for you as a runner.
I
think
agree.
so.
That,
or if you're gonna be worried about it, maybe.
And as a pacer, don't worry necessarily always about getting dropped. If you're ready for it and you're prepared for it and you get dropped, that could be a good thing.
Right.
That could be, hey, my runner is on a high and maybe I just couldn't keep up that day.
Well, and as the runner, to be smart enough to realize when your pacer is now being a detriment, the pacer needs to be gracious enough to say,
Right.
go,
Yeah,
go, go, go.
absolutely.
Exactly.
You're feeling good, go. I'm about ready to die because whatever's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Because I know in races, I've with my pacers, I've liked it in the front, I've liked it in the back, right?
Both ways.
Both ways,
sometimes.
right? So
Depends on the mood.
It depends
That's
on the
right.
mood, depends on the lighting. So the sun going down, the sun's coming up. So it depends on the situation.
Depends on what they're serving at the aid stations
That's right.
too.
you throw some bacon, my pacer's going to be behind me because I'm going to race him to the bacon, right? So,
That's right.
So that's a question that I get asked all the time is like, hey, I'm pacing so and so. Should I run in front of them? Do I run behind them? Like, that's more up to your pacer. But generally, you usually see the pacer in the lead, right? Because that's kind of what their role is.
Right.
Lead. Make sure you hit the turn. Make sure you're on the right course. But you see them on the back end too.
Right. I think if I had a pacer again, because I'm kind of against it now, if I ever got in the Hard Rock, I'm going to have a pacer. And for the most part, though, I want to be out front. Because I want to set the pace. Because I still want to be in control. Because I'm kind of a control freak. I want to set that pace. And if I want to run fast, I don't want to have to nudge my pacer to run fast. I just want to kind of find that tune on my iPod, and I want to freaking go.
Well, I saw that firsthand at the Bear one year.
Right.
I was pacing somebody, and had gone by you and your pacer.
Right. Oh,
And-
that's right.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
And then it was that last downhill. So we hit the Ranger dip. And
The Ranger
that
Dip
last
aid
one
station. Oh, my gosh. I was dying going
went
in
up
the Ranger
that
Dip.
one steep climb and
dying.
downhill, and I'm running, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Well, so here's my perspective on that real quick, and I'll let him finish. We got out of Ranger Dip, and I was so furious that I was going slow. And I was so mad that some people were passing me, and you shouldn't be, right? But I was, because I'm a little competitive at that point. We get to the top of that climb, and Jim Skaggs was pacing me for the last 25, and we'd done nothing but walk. I was hallucinating badly at one point. I thought there was basketball goals in the woods, and I kept turning to Jim and said, Jim, why is that basketball goal out here in the woods? I don't understand. So finally, you and Curtis pass me, going in the Ranger Dip. I get some food in, we march up, and there was somebody else's pacer was having too much fun. It was annoying me. So we get to the top, and Jim's like, I got to go to the bathroom.
Yep, I remember that part too.
And I'm like, I'm done. I put on like Tool. I said, Jim has to catch me. And I said, he's going to work because he's done nothing but walk, and I feel terrible about it. And I freaking blazed that last 7 miles.
And you did, because you came flying by me and Curtis, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there goes. I mean, I was pacing, and I'm like, I don't know if I could keep that pace with Joel. And so me and Curtis we're running, we're going down the hill. It was his first 100. He did a great job. And next thing you know, about literally 5 minutes later, at least, Jim comes by. Have you guys seen Joel? I'm like, oh my God, he took off like his butt was on fire, right?
Yeah, I mean,
He's raging.
Yeah, it was. It was like Smurf Nuts had kicked in, and it was just balls out. It was so much fun.
Oh, and you looked like you had fun. And
It was so much fun. It was all the way to the finish. That last 7 miles, we ran every step. When Jim finally did catch up to me.
I say Jim caught you.
He finally caught up to me. Like, it took 2 miles for Jim to catch up to me, though. It was awesome. I was like, you're going to work, buddy, to catch me.
That was impressive. I mean, even as to see someone with that kind of downhill energy at the end of a race. I mean, me and Curtis are like, holy cow. And I'm like, what do you think, Curtis? He's like, no. So
Poor Curtis. Yeah.
That would have been you at Wasatch, though. Away, your goal.
Oh, that was a good year. That was a
Yeah.
good finish.
You came in under 30 hours on that one, right?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, that was fast.
That was just the downhill. That was kind of the same thing. I just wanted to be done.
Yeah, sometimes
goal.
when you want to be done, you can smell the barn. You will
You just hit it.
find it.
Smurf Nuts it.
That's right. You got to find those Smurf nuts.
Okay, so here we go. We're kind of getting near the end. We'll close some stuff out. But as a pacer, I want everybody to think, and you have been prepped on this, okay, what is one of your all-time favorite, okay, just one, okay, for time's sakes. Your time you were pacing, what is your favorite story as the pacer? Like, what do you remember? Because I've heard some zingers in the past. I mean, I have some zingers, but what is your fun little pacer story? Who are we going to start with? Who's ready? Who's ready?
Yeah, I have a bad story about myself as a pacer.
Let's
That
hit
one
it.
counts.
Let's hit it.
When was that? Last year? 2 years ago at the Bear? Pacing John?
Oh,
So-
the mud year.
Yeah, it was the mud year.
It was the mud year.
Yeah, so I had John from, is it Tony Grove? Is that about mile 50?
Yeah, that's mile 50.
So I bit off a 50-mile pacing duty.
Right.
You know, so I was pacing John. I think we probably got only 5 or 6 miles in, and I don't know how to say this. Is this PG or is this the ratings have gone?
If it gets too bad, I can
Basically,
just put a
edit it.
scowler over you.
Okay. Basically, I started hitting the woods like hard,
Oh, that's right.
Like I'm talking, at first it was like maybe every, started benign, every like half hour or so. And it got to the point where I was like in the woods every like 5-10 minutes.
That's just when you just run with your shorts off. It makes it easier.
Yeah.
Well, that started at mile 50. And the best part is that continued into the next day. Because
smiling, the best part.
Somebody gave me a ride home from the bear the next day. And Brienne, all of a sudden, she's in front of us. All of a sudden, she turns, like pulls over as fast as she can. Harrison gets out of the car, and he's got his pants down around his ankles.
Oh, it was in Sardine Canyon.
Yes, it was in Sardine Canyon. And he's got the worst ass disease you've ever seen.
It was horrendous.
And he's like painting the sagebrush just brown.
Yeah, it was
Little Dumb and Dumber moment.
That's right.
It was absolutely. It was the worst. I can't even describe to you how horrible of an experience that was. But it's one of those things where you just hope that you're not actually being a detriment to your runner. So the only way I was able to get rid of that until the ride home when I had an emergency exit. I literally from what is that, Beaver Lodge?
Yeah.
75 or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
I couldn't eat or drink anything for the last 25 miles.
Right.
So after that point, it wasn't too bad, but I literally could not consume a single calorie, any water. That's the only way I could survive and have John still let me run with him. So that's my horrible pacing experience.
That's a PTPS, post-traumatic pacer syndrome. If you need to take a minute and step away.
That felt good to get it off my chest.
I'm glad.
It was like one of the, helps me heal, I think.
All right.
Yeah, I think
What's
so.
another pacer story?
I don't have like a funny one, I don't think.
Do you have a good one? You paced. What was a moment when you're pacing that you thought this is why I'm doing this?
This is why I'm doing this?
Yeah.
Probably when you finished Wasatch last time. What was that, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, you were struggling. And
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it was hot. The last few aid stations really didn't have any food. And,
grapes don't do it for me.
Yeah, and a couple M&Ms. I know Harry's big on M&Ms, but
Skittles.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty good. I thought that was pretty special.
Wow, great. I'm just glad I finished.
God, my pacer moment. This actually was selfish pacer moment. Jim Skaggs, Salt Flats. Jeremy and Amy do the only real aid station. So previous aid station where Eric drops off Jim.
I cooked a hot dog with my hands.
Yeah.
That's right.
I burnt my
The hot
gloves.
dog.
Hot dog hands?
Oh,
Hot
God.
dog hands.
Jim wanted hot dogs. There were Boy Scouts. The hot dogs were cold.
And you know
They
how
had a
Boy Scouts
fire.
are.
They had no
Yep.
intentions of
Yep.
cooking these hot dogs. Eric rolled a hot dog across a rock near the fire, burned his hands. Jim ate
Burned
two cold
his
hot
gloves too.
I still have the
still
gloves.
got
That
the
was like
gloves.
4 years ago.
Yeah, so we head out on this section, and honestly, I don't know how I didn't know this, but the Salt Flats, that is as cold as I have ever been during a race. I've been snowed on during races and still not as been as cold as I was at Salt Flats. Anyway, going to Jeremy and Amy's aid station, and there's a fire. And it's the only hill in the Salt Flats. So we'd climbed up this little hill. There's a fire. Well, I got to get Jim out of there. And Jim's only motivation is he's not getting passed by this lady that was behind us. And I'm sorry if you know the lady or what. So my goal was to get to Lori that I knew was on the road with a warm car.
Right.
So I told Jim we have to run. Jim decides, okay, we'll run. We're running downhill. And his only motivation is not to get passed by this lady, and I'm trying to get warm. Jim full on catches his toe and flips. Like he does a full somersault down the Salt Flats. The only thing I could think of is get your ass up. We are running to Lori's car. And he did it. But it was a seriously bad pacer moment because there was no
Right.
sympathy there.
No.
No, because I thought Jim can take a hit or two.
Yeah,
I didn't even
he's
check to
old.
see if he was bleeding.
Tough.
He was fine.
He's old and tough.
He
you
can
know?
take a
He's
hit
like
or
a
two.
piece of grizzle.
Yeah. And that will be the last time I ever paced Jim Skaggs at Salt Flats.
That's right.
I will never pace there again too. So my pacing experience, my fun one, and it kind of turns into a good one, is that I paced Curtis Thompson for his first 100-miler, and I think I'm chewing on that dog thing going on right now. But I was pacing Curtis, and he was starting to hallucinate, and it was his first 100, and he's like, "That is the biggest elk I have ever seen," and he started to slow down like he was scared. He's like, he almost like, "I don't want to go around it. Look at that elk, Aaron." I'm like, I'm excited because I'm a huge wildlife guy. I'm like, I don't see an elk. And it was a tree stump, which we found out later. And he's like, I can't believe I did that. Holy cow, that's weird. And Curtis is he knows himself well. Right. And so a little bit later, we go up the hill, and he's like, Eric. I'm like, yeah. And we're way back in the mountains here, right? And he's like, what? Do you see those guys? I'm looking around like, okay, there's some other runners coming. He saw I believe it was a father and son playing Frisbee or playing catch in the mountains with a station wagon. Now, mind you, a station wagon couldn't get anywhere near where we were, and I'm looking in the same spot, and he's like, look at them. They're just playing catch. What are they doing? And I'm like,
Griswold out there,
yeah.
right?
I'm like, I don't. And he was kind of beating himself up a little bit. But it turned into a great experience because he finished his first 100, and it was great. But that was when people hallucinate. I'm sorry. And if I do it, that's great. But
it happens.
It's funny, right?
And I think that's, as a pacer, you have to expect that to happen because things get weird in the middle of the night.
Okay,
And
so
early in the morning, too.
So if someone asks you to pace, for the people out there that have never paced, should they pace? Is it something everybody should get a chance to do? Everybody should be a pacer at some point.
No.
I'm going to say maybe. I love pacing, but there are some people that I actually, and I won't name names, I would never pace for.
Right.
I'm sitting right here, so I appreciate you not naming names.
I mean, I don't know. It just depends on the person.
Right.
I don't think everyone's probably cut out for it, but
Nope.
it just depends, if you find that one runner that can stand you for 25 miles, I guess.
Right.
I think it absolutely helps. I think it's a huge benefit. Hats off to people who don't need pacers. I personally can't.
I think you're going to learn a lot as a pacer.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what.
If you go into it with an open mind and you're going to be really flexible with the game plan, you're going to learn a lot. And it's going to be really valuable.
So there's 4 of us sitting here who at this table has paced before they ran a 100-miler, and the reason they ran 100 because they paced first. Anyone?
No.
Nope.
No?
Oh, paced and
First?
then ran a?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
See, that's
yeah,
what I
I
did.
did.
I did too. I mean, I paced, and I didn't run the 100-mile because I paced. It was always in the game plan, but I think that's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
I've never paced for a race that I ran the 100-miler. So I intentionally run really long races out of state because it kind of ups the commitment value in my head.
There you go.
Super inconvenient
True.
for your pacers.
Right.
Because they have to fly there, drive there, take an entire 3-4 days out of their life.
But
They
have
have to
you-
think of it as a vacation.
Have you ever
Yeah.
had a problem filling those roles, though?
Never.
See, so that's another thing. People want to go. People want to be a part of it. Because I would have never, I shouldn't say that. I had no desire ever to run a 100-miler until I paced. I paced Scott Jaime, and I thought, and I only paced him, I want to say just 15 miles. And I thought, okay, I'm in. This is super cool.
Right.
And then I made him, I said, you know what? I paced you 15 miles. You can pay me back next year. So the next year he paced me 60 miles at Wasatch.
That's even.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
That was good.
Yeah, so I think we're fair.
good equation.
I mean, I think he set the PR and the course record for the Wasatch 100K.
Drop the hammer.
He dropped the hammer. He did. So, well, I think far as that goes, we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, so we got a couple things we need to talk about, right?
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a contest.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got an Ultra Spire Revolution vest, brand new,
Spanking new in the plastic.
in the
still.
plastic. What you need to do to
Is that-
qualify
hey,
to
is there
win
a
this?
size on that?
I don't think on the
think- no.
Revolution there
No.
is. No, nope. It's
It's red.
all one
Red-
size fits all.
It's a red color.
It's
vest.
red.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to win this brand new vest, the Revolution, look it up, ultraspire.com. You need to comment.
Ultraspire.net.
Is that what it is?
I think it might be.
Just Google
Yeah.
Ultraspire and hit their homepage, right?
Right.
So what you need to do is leave us your best pacing story
On Facebook, please.
on Facebook. Your best pacing story. We will pick the winner,
Yeah.
and we'll.
It can be the best, answer.
Oh, that's all it's going to
Yeah.
be. The best one.
Right.
Whether it's
It's
my
going to be
pacer
random.
did this.
There's
or
no criteria how we're going to choose this.
Yeah.
So if you get butt hurt over not winning, too bad.
better luck next time.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to do that. We're going to have a giveaway for the Revolution pack. What else, Joel?
Oh yeah. So who we got coming up next week?
Well, I mean, it's not in pen, but it's I wrote really hard in with my pencil, so it's going to be hard to give a raise, right?
That's right. And you've texted this person.
Yeah,
Right.
And so we're going to do a follow-up show because pacing's not the only segment to this stuff, right? So
No.
the other side to it is crewing.
Right. Which I think is maybe even equally or more important.
Exactly. So we're going to do a show on crewing.
That's right. And we have the expert crewer.
The crew master.
That's right.
And he's got a new crew vehicle
He does.
as of yesterday, right? So next week, our show, there's a lot of giggles going around the table.
There's a little inside joke there, and
So-
maybe we'll bring it out next week.
Maybe we'll let them discuss it on the show.
Right.
But the
exactly.
next show, we're hoping, and we have it in dark pencil, no pressure, but there is, with Lane Farka,
Yeah, the master of crewing.
the master of the crew, and his wonderful wife, Debbie.
Right.
So that's our goal for next week. And then what's on the horizon, though?
Well, so Nate Graven, we've talked about him a lot. He's our guy.
He's our guy.
And we can stop right there. And a lot of other people say he's my guy too.
Yeah, that's my guy. He's
That's
my
my
guy.
guy.
No,
Yeah,
He
see,
is my
everybody
guy.
at this table is that's a guy, but he's
Yeah.
more my
I got
guy.
him this
Now,
week.
I'm gonna have to one up you. He was my guy first.
But I've got him on speed dial.
You know what I mean? He's my. I kind of discovered him, right?
He was your first.
Raised him up.
I think you
Little
left swipe.
pup.
Didn't you left swipe on Tinder?
That's
God.
But
Place to
anyway.
find a pacer, too.
That's right. It's a good Craigslist is a place to
Craigslist,
find the
yep.
pacer.
But anyway, so Nate Graven's going to hopefully join us and talk about body work, massage work, performance massage, and how it can help you as an ultra runner, trail runner, how you can reach your goals with using that modality.
That tool.
Yeah, and then Buffalo Run after that.
Yeah, we
Will
also
that take
have
us up to
some
the Buffalo?
nutrition stuff, right?
Well, yeah. So we've been threatening. We've been talking about this. Suzanne Lewis, my dear, I know you're nervous to come on the show. I know you think that you're not going to sound good. Don't worry about it. You're going to be just fine. You're going to bust us all in the knees with some fantastic nutritional information. You're up next, lady.
So there you have it.
That's
A
right.
shout out, a call out.
Call
and,
out.
You're next. So
That's right. And then after that, the Buffalo Run, I think we're going to try to head out there, take the bus out there,
yep.
do some interviews.
So if you want to be on the show, let us know. Right?
That's right. We'll be at the
out
Buffalo
there.
Run.
Yeah, we'll be the guys next to the green bus with the canopy and maybe
All
an
the
ice
beer.
chest.
Yeah, some beer.
Well, I want to take a second and just tell Harrison and Brian thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We really appreciate
you.
it. It's our first time we've had two guests.
Yeah.
And I think the insight's invaluable, and I can't wait to see some of the comments. So thank you both for hosting this, your graciousness, and your friendship.
Thank
Yeah,
you. for the
thank you,
pizza.
Guys.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Trail Manners podcast. We'd like to thank Brian and Harrison for joining us today to talk about pacing. We also want to encourage you to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Trail Manners, or you can swing by our website at trailmanners.com. Once you're there, you can pick up some cool shirts or hats. You can swing by our contact page, let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or if you even want to be on the show. So until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.